Hello and welcome to day one of Meditations for Mortals, where I work through Oliver Burkeman's book Meditations for Mortals, a 4-week guide to doing what counts. So week one is about facing the fact of our finitude, which is surprisingly tricky to say. And day one is titled It's Worse Than You Think, and subtitled On the Liberation of Defeat. So what he's talking about is this fear we have of not getting the life that we want. And he says that the magic begins when we start to accept that we never are going to get the life that we want. We definitely won't achieve everything that we feel we want to achieve. But he says that this thought is far from depressing, because actually once we once we accept that reality, we can actually then start accomplishing more, achieving more, and feeling better about what we're doing. So he says instead of working towards some utopia of perfect productivity, accept that we're never going to get everything done. And I must confess, I have often felt that feeling of overwhelm. I've got so much to do, or even on one particular project there's just so much to do, and I look at it and I don't know where to start, and I end up not starting. And I think that sort of feeling of paralysis will be familiar to certainly everyone who has ADHD, but probably also to a lot of everybody else too. So he says that you have to let go of the feeling that you've got to get everything done, and then somehow and to an exceptional standard, let's face it, that tendency to perfectionism gets in the way as well. Once we let go of that, start to relax, we find that actually we are more motivated to do the things that we want to do, and we have fun in the process. He uses a couple of analogies in the first chapter where he talks about that sort of fear of failure, and he gives an example of a writer who was absolutely, failure is not an option, I can't possibly fail, and then he did and accepted that actually I'm still here, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And he calls it playing in the ruins. Once you start to accept that, bad things have happened, and you start to work from where you are, from the reality that you have, suddenly things start to happen and you feel better about them. He also gives an analogy of a plane crash. He says instead of, you're constantly bracing in fear of the plane crash, what you've got to do is accept the plane's already crashed, and what you've got to do is to make the best of the situation that you find yourself in on the crash landing. And he actually says that the plane crashed the day we were born. So, there's quite a lot of humour in there, but also I found that quite motivating and uplifting. And I have to admit that this concept of accepting that I'm not going to get everything done is something that's been filtering through to me a little bit in recent months, maybe even a little bit longer than that. I've started to accept that things are not, I'm not going to get everything done. It's an impossible task. So starting to prioritise a little bit more what I want to do and focusing on those things. So I found this is a great place to start. Let me know what do you think of this concept? Does it fit with how you feel life is for you? Is it a concept that you feel you could take on board and start to develop that way of thinking? So that is week one, day one of Meditations for Mortals, working through Oliver Burkeman's book. Day one, it's worse than you think, on the liberation of defeat. Look forward to seeing your comments, and I will see you tomorrow for day two. Bye.